This is Neversong, the sequel slash spiritual sequel slash remake of a Java game called Coma, previously called Once Upon a Coma, and very confused, even in the developer's own commentary in a special secret room that you find after completing the game. But it's an interesting and fun platformer, roguelike sort of thing, and it's got some action elements, and it took about 3 to 4 hours to complete, whereas Coma supposedly takes you 15 minutes. But I've never played that, but it looked an interesting experience, and I could see some similarities where the dev was going through from that. Now, throughout the game, you play Pete, a guy whose friend slash girlfriend slash confused partner by a lot of different people that can't figure out what's going on is been kidnapped by someone called Dr. Smile, Dr. Sleep, Smile, the smiling creepy thing, whatever you want to call it, without spoilers. And you're trying to chase down and rescue her from this evil demon and figure out what's been going on in the world. Now, everyone is a child, and all the adults seem to have gone missing for some mysterious reason. And it's your job to find out why, whilst also rescuing your friend slash girlfriend from the clutches of the only adult creature seemingly about. And you make your way through the world, and you gain additional powers in typical roguelike feature, and you get the ability to smack things with the baseball bat to begin with, and then you unlock more things which allow you to explore more of the world, and you solve quests for the kids to try and find their parents and figure out what's happened to the world. And you come across more demonic creatures as you go along, and you find out what's been going on in the world in this twisted sort of storyline as things progress. Now, obviously, it's got a lot to do with trauma, because you're in a coma for whatever reason, and then, just a nightmare world unfolds before you. Now, obviously, everyone in the world is children, so they're going to be quite childish. There's going to be a lot of typical humour that you expect from childish behaviours. And it's a colourful and interesting world, and there are things to fight which, again, may be a bit childish and may remind you of genitalia, especially as the guy in the secret room says, specifically that in at least Coma they were to do with genitalia, but these may be the opposite kind. Than mention that. And I think that there's a lot of humour in there that's very fitting for childishness, and a lot of regression to childhood sort of themes, as well as some adult themes going on as well. So it's an interesting mix, and it's an interesting game as the storyline progresses. I'm trying not to spoil that as I go through it all, but there's a lot to do with mental health and issues about personality and things like that. So yeah, I think it was a pretty interesting story, as well as a fun enough action adventure. Like I say, it's pretty short, and there is an achievement for if you can blast through it in an hour in a speedrun, but there is also a cheating achievement, so maybe you can just cheat to get ahead and speed through it if you know exactly what you need to do that and unlock all of the powers maybe before even defeating any of the bosses. But there are a few different bosses, and they could maybe use a little work, in my opinion, because the bosses all spawn additional enemies, and when you hit the additional enemies they give you health, so you can essentially just blast your way through it and not care that you get hurt, because the additional enemies that it spawns will give you enough health to just defeat the enemies in no time, other than the final boss. So maybe it's a little too easy in that aspect, in my opinion. But, some of the puzzles were hard, some of them were challenging, and, there are different areas which require different things done for the challenge, and obviously as you unlock more of the abilities going through the game, that requires you to then use those powers to solve more puzzles. So yeah, and there is some timing-based things with exploding bombs, which were a bit of a challenge, and maybe a little frustrating, but other than that, it was a fun action platformer roguelike, and I definitely enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend it. It's pretty interesting and relatively cheap, so it's at $11.39, so that's on the cheap end of the current indie markets for sure. But I definitely recommend going through it without spoiling it for yourself, because a lot of it is going to be uncovering the story behind the game and the enjoyment of discovering everything for yourself. I'd say definitely go into it blind without spoilers, because that's the way that you're going to enjoy the game the most. And if you enjoy action roguelikes, then this is going to be the game for you, for certain.